Today we're going to learn about function notation. So let's say, for example, you're given a function that looks like this, 2x minus 4. This is the same thing as y equals 2x minus 4, which is what you're probably more familiar with seeing. Just this time we're replacing it with f of x, which means function. So on the test or exam, you're going to be asked questions like, what is f of 2? What is f of 5? Oops, f of 5. Stuff like this. And how you answer this is you plug in x and replace it with 2. So every time you see an x, you're going to replace it with the number 2. Just like that. You see how here, just replacing the x. And then you just finish the equation. 2 times 2 is 4, minus 4, that's 0. And then f of 5. Same thing. 2, replace every time you see an x with the number 5, minus 4. 2 times 5 is 10, minus 4, and that's 6. And to show you what's really happening, I'm going to graph f of x equals 2x minus 4. So this is negative 4. And you don't need to know how to graph it yet. I'll show you that in a second. But this is what this graph looks like. So 2x looks like this. And when we plugged in these numbers for f of 2, you're saying that when x is 2, you're saying that the y value is 0. And then when you plugged it in for 5, you plugged in x as 5, you're saying that when x is 5, the y value is 6. So let's see here. So 2 and 0. When x is 2, y is 0, that's this point right here. And then when x is 5 and y is 6, it's going to be 3, 4, 5. It's going to be somewhere out here. But the whole point is that it's going to follow the graph. Like that. Okay. One thing that is a common question that you will be asked on tests is to graph something given a function. So let's say I'm just replacing f of x with h of t. They mean the same thing though, but they can use any sort of letters or symbols to represent that. Say you're given a more complicated function like this, and they want you to graph it, and it's like, oh, okay, what does this look like? So to graph this, you need to make a table of x and y values, and then you just start plugging in points. So let's say, let's start with 0, and instead of x and y, I'll do t and h. X and y is what you're used to, but because it's h and t now, remember this is x, and then the whole function is the y value. So, okay. Let's just plug in random values for t. So let's put in 0. If you put in 0, 0 plus 1 squared plus 5, negative 3 times 1 squared is just negative 3 plus 5 is just 2. So when t is 0, h is 2. And then Let's plug in 1 as well. You just plug it and chug. So every time you see a t this time, you replace it with 1. And then you can put this in your calculator, but I'm just going to do it quickly here. So 2 squared plus 5. 2 times 2 to the power of 2 is 4, times negative 3, it's negative 12, plus 5, it's negative 7. You can just put that in the calculator. Negative 7, and then we'll do one more. H of negative 1, just to get a good range of numbers to see what the graph looks like. So every time I see a t, I'm putting negative 1, and then I'm writing the rest of the equation. This part is just 0, negative 1 plus 1, so it just leaves you with 5. Then here, I'll move this down. And negative 1 and 5. Okay, now I'm gonna move this stuff out of the way. So let's graph it now that we have our points. Let's start with 0. So this is x, this is y, and then because it's t and h, this is t, this is h. So 0. When t is 0, which is right here, we have the point 2. So we have this point, it's the first point. And then we have 1 and negative 7. So 1 is there. Negative 7, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 is right there. That's negative 7. This is 2. And then I also have negative 1. So that's there. And then 5. So 3, 4, 5. That is this point right here. I'm going to remove the numbers for now because they're in my way. Okay, let's see. Okay, yeah, looks good so far. We do need one more number, I think. Let's do negative 2 as well. Just because we don't really know what the graph looks like right now. But if we do more numbers, then it'll be more clear. So negative 2 plus 1 is negative 1 squared plus 5. Negative 3 times negative 1 squared is just 1. So that basically cancels out. Just leaves us with 2. So when t is negative 2, the h value is 2. So let's graph this part. Negative 2, h value is 2. And now we have something we're more used to seeing. This is a quadratic, like this. Let me draw this more properly. Draw this a bit nicer. So like this, right? And then if you kept going, if you did like negative 3, you would just continue plotting points on the graph. You would get, I think you would get this point right here. Let me do another color, right here. If you did negative 3, but this is one of the main applications, is it tells you how to graph these functions. So yeah, this is function notation.